Okay, so ICE agents in Rhode Island surrounded a state judge's car, threatened to smash his windows, and handcuffed his high school intern. Wrong person. Pete Hegseth killed the military flu vaccine mandate for freedom. A trainee died. Then the same base mandated the shot anyway. I could not write this. 2 stories. Same pattern. Political signal, real consequences. Quiet reversal. We're breaking both down today. New here? Hit subscribe. Let's get into it.
Courthouses are supposed to be sort of protected places, but this has been going on for a while with ICE and CBP. We had an incident in Rhode Island where they had agreed not to operate in the courthouse, and there was a court rule that you can't take photographs in the courthouse, a rule for everyone. And despite the agreement, agents came in to operate in the courthouse. Despite the rule, they started taking pictures. They were such bozos that they were surveilling a high school intern while thinking they were looking for some 30-year-old guy. And then the kid was nervous and went to the judge he was interning for, and the judge walked him out to his car to drive him back to high school, at which point the agents went at the judge by way of genius clue behavior. He was parked in a judge's only parking spot, and they didn't seem to figure out that he was a judge, so they threatened to smash his windows and drag the kid out of the car, a judge, if he didn't turn over this high schooler. Eventually, they knew that they were wrong. They detained the kid for an hour. But this kind of behavior.
All right, so let's actually unpack what just happened. White House just walked us through a real operational failure. November 20th, 2025. ICE agents in plain clothes surrounded a state judge's car outside the Licht Judicial Complex in Providence, Rhode Island. Their actual target was a man in his 30s. The person in the judge's car, a high school intern at Rhode Island Superior Court, a kid on a school placement, and, according to Senator Whitehouse, quoting his Senate testimony directly here, agents threatened to smash the judge's windows and drag him from the car, said that to Judge Joseph McBurney, a sitting state judge, the same judge they are asking to process immigration enforcement cases inside his own courthouse. That is not strength. That is agents who cannot identify the correct target, threatening the person whose entire job is to uphold the rule of law on his own property. Then, June 23rd, 2026, U.S. District Judge P. Casey Pitts of the Northern District of California drops a 71-page opinion and a nationwide injunction. Not one courthouse, not one state. Nationwide. ICE cannot make arrests inside immigration courthouses. The ruling found the policies, quote, arbitrary and capricious under the Administrative Procedures Act, and the court described ICE's conduct as devoid of rational explanation. That is a federal court saying, in writing, your agency could not construct a coherent reason for what it was doing when it expanded courthouse enforcement. To be precise, the ruling does not permanently ban all courthouse arrests. It says produce a reasoned explanation, a bar that is not high. ICE couldn't clear it. And the Rhode Island incident, threatening to drag a judge from his car while handcuffing the wrong person, is exactly the kind of documented operational failure that becomes Exhibit A in a 71-page ruling.
Not even 2 months ago, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth made a big and he said bold announcement that vaccine mandates weaken our warfighting capabilities. And to fix it, he declared American troops would no longer be required to adhere to modern germ theory, that they could practice their freedom by refusing to take the flu vaccine.
We're seizing this moment to discard any absurd, overreaching mandates that only weaken our warfighting capabilities. In this case, this includes the universal flu vaccine and the mandate behind it. The notion that a flu vaccine must be mandatory for every service member everywhere in every circumstance at all times is just overly broad and not rational.
Well, it appears a lot of them agreed because more than 220 troops at Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio now have the flu, up from 160 cases reported just last week. At least one trainee might have died because of it. 19-year-old Keon McDaniel fell ill a little over a week ago, and then he died. A medical review is now underway to determine exactly what happened. In the meantime, Lackland is reversing course to try to contain the outbreak. All recruits at Lackland are now being required to get their flu shots, though they remain voluntary elsewhere, those shots in the military.
So let me make sure the math is clear. Before Hegseth's April order, the flu vaccination rate at Lackland Air Force Base was near 100%. After he made the shot optional, it dropped to 40%. At a military training base, recruits in barracks, communal dining, close quarters PT, public health specialists warned immediately, pull the mandate in that environment and you will get an outbreak. Air Force Times confirmed over 200 cases as of June 22nd. Other outlets report 222. A trainee named Keon McDaniel, assigned to the 737th Training Support Squadron, 6 weeks into basic military training, suffered a medical emergency June 12th and died June 16th at Brooke Army Medical Center. I want to be straight with you. The cause of his medical emergency is still under investigation, and a direct flu link has not been confirmed. But he died during an active outbreak on a base whose vaccination rate had just been cut from nearly 100 to 40%. And the Air Force reinstated mandatory flu vaccinations locally to contain the spread. Here's the actual pattern. 2 working systems, courthouse arrest protocols that kept agents from threatening judges, and a vaccine mandate that kept immunization near 100%, both dismantled to send a political signal. Strength, freedom, whatever word tested well that week. And in both cases, the system broke down in exactly the way the safety measure was designed to prevent. Judges threatened, interns handcuffed, 222 trainees sick, a 19-year-old dead. Then, quietly, both policies had to be reversed or overruled, with no one standing up to say they were wrong. Here's the gotcha. The vaccine mandate Hegseth called unnecessary. Same base reinstated it. On the record, after the death, the ICE courthouse policy the administration called essential to enforcement, a federal court said in 71 pages, the agency could not produce a rational justification for it. That is not opinion. That is the documented paper trail. And the paper trail tells you whether a decision was made on the merits or made for a headline. So here's the line if someone brings this up. The administration dismantled 2 safety systems for political optics. Both failed within weeks. Both had to be reversed or overruled. That is not a coincidence. It is a governing philosophy of choosing the signal over the system. The nationwide courthouse injunction is heading to appeals courts, where the administration will argue the judiciary is overreaching. Keon McDaniel's family does not get an appeal. That is the gap between political theater and real consequences, between what sounds strong and what actually holds. That is why receipts matter more than rhetoric. That is why we're here. Hit like, subscribe, share it with someone who needs to see the actual numbers. I'll catch you in the next one.